What's going on, everybody? Welcome to this edition of Gin and Tonic. I'm your host, as always, John J. II, and I'm bringing you a brand new episode of the Gin and Tonic series today on the 23rd of December, 2021. Almost Christmas time. Hope you guys wrap your presents. Hope you guys ask Santa what you want, because time is here. So I want to go over a couple topics today that are involving the Omicron variant. Talked about it a lot last night on the GSN pod. Hope you guys had some time to tune into that. If not, navigate over to the YouTube channel and watch that again. But this is involving the college football playoff, along with other bowl games that are also in the conversation as well. So these changes were made by the College Football Playoff Management Committee in a video conference on Tuesday, and they provided flexibility within these games and kind of give some wiggle room for some of the games. In this specific case, it involves the College Football Playoff National Championship game, which is to take place on January 10th. You have a window there from January 10th to the 14th, and if the game has not been, it doesn't happen by then, I don't know how they're going to decide it. Whatever team's most healthiest, whoever has the most players active, I don't know how that's going to get decided. I don't want to be the guy that makes that decision. And there's some other stipulations that involve those four teams as well. For example, if one of the four teams, one of the semifinalists, is unable to participate because of a COVID-19 outbreak, the unavailable team will forfeit and its opponent will advance to the Natty. If both teams are unavailable to play in a semifinal game, it would be declared a no contest, and the winner of the other semifinal game will be declared the winner of the Natty. So we could possibly not even have a national championship game based on these proceedings. Nick Saban and the athletic trainer Jeff Allen for the Alabama Crimson Tide, they both have very mild symptoms per reports today. They're expected to recover nicely going into January. They still have a couple weeks left, 2-3 weeks at least, to recover. So chances are they will make it. But, at the end of the day, you don't need a coach to play the game. You need the players to play the game. You need Bryce Young at quarterback. You need players to play the game. Bottom line, you need players to play the game. So another interesting caveat to the bowl week scenario, to the entire dynamic of everything, involves the Rose Bowl and the Sugar Bowl. So the Rose Bowl, which is actually a contractually bound bowl game between the Big Ten and the Pac-12, they are under their own contracts, similar to the Sugar Bowl, which has contracts with the Big 12. They operate under separate agreements and they don't fall under College Football Playoff Guidelines, which is kind of crazy. They don't fall under their guidelines. So I don't know if that means that they can play with players that have COVID, or if they don't have to go for as long as a quarantine process. Kind of unsure on how that works or how that will play out. Maybe it just means they have more wiggle room when it comes to postponing those games and playing those games at a later date if needed. But that is to be decided. Basically, this throws a huge wrench into everything. You got the Super Bowl coming up. You got March Madness coming up. Two of the biggest sporting events ever in sports that have ever been created, ever been constructed by man. The last thing that I want is to see another year go by without a March Madness happening. When Cassius and the Michigan State Spartans, when they were projected to go all the way, and usually when they're projected to go all the way, this wasn't the first time they were projected, but this was a team I felt good about, and they were shortchanged. They did not get to play in a March Madness scenario. They did the year prior, and they did good. They did well, but this was going to be our year, and it never seen its first game. We didn't even see NIT games. So they tried doing it without fans. They tried doing it, with certain regulations. They did the NBA finals in the bubble. We all remember those days. But there was no March Madness at all. And we haven't really seen a major event get changed or postponed. I guess we saw the Masters get postponed and changed. We saw the Olympics. It's happened to a number of events, a number of sporting events within different leagues and different sports. But the bottom line is, we don't want to see this happen again. I talked about this last night on the GSN pod. Got a little bit controversial, but that's my style. That's how I do things, okay? That's how I do things. If you don't know that by now, you know it now, okay? I'm going to get controversial on here. You and I, we're going to have a conversation, and we're going to get controversial with each other, but we're going to be best friends at the end of it. So that's a beautiful thing about me. But the last thing I want to see is this happen again going into 2022, going into 2023. We seem to be making strides. With cases lowering, and then we go through a big surge. Another variant comes on, and then we, go through a big surge, then we recover, and then we go through a big surge, and lumber prices go through the roof again. I'm getting worn out. I'm getting sick and tired of it. I think a lot of people are. I speak for a lot of my listeners, a lot of the people out there in society. When I say that, we're getting tired of it. We're taking one step forward and 3 steps backward, 1 step forward, 3 steps back, and it's becoming very old. It's an old narrative that we're getting sick of. We need to make a change that lasts a long time. Whatever that is, I don't know what it is. And you know, unfortunately, our politicians in Washington, we can't really count on them. And I'm not making this out to be political, but we have to be able to count on certain people to make the right decisions for us. And unfortunately, those decisions have not been made, and thus we're still in the pandemic. So I want to make sure everybody's staying safe and everybody's doing well, but I also want to make sure we're making progress in the efforts that we're trying to make in trying just to live our lives fear-free. Nobody should have to live their life in fear. If you're living your life in fear, you're living it wrong. So that's my little 2 cents on the whole deal without getting too political about it. And I don't think I really have to get, I don't have to separate myself partisan-wise when I come down to, we're getting sick and tired of having the pandemic, living through the pandemic, and it's really altering our lives in a lot of ways more than see the eye sometimes, especially pertaining to sports in the sports world. Now, I know COVID-19 is a real thing. It happens. People get sick and people die from it. I'm not going to be a denier out there and saying it doesn't exist, right? So we have to take the necessary precautions. If that means don't go out and go clubbing so you don't get COVID. If you're a sports team, if you're playing in a bowl game or playing a Super Bowl or playing in March Madness, then don't do that. If you have certain decisions to make the right decisions. Joe Burrow talked about this last night on the GSN pod. They don't have a lot of nightlife. They don't have a lot of things to do in Cincinnati, but that works to their benefit because now they are able to play with a full roster. So there's some notes to be taken from that. Be smart during the season. During the off season, I guess you can get a little bit reckless because you don't have to make quotas. You still have to make practices and still have to go to training and go, the weight room and all that. But you don't have to play in games, and it's not the end of the season where playoffs are happening and things of that nature. Just be smart out there. Be smart. A lot of these people, they're smart people. They're smart people, but they're acting like they're not smart. So that's what bothers me, and it essentially rubs off on all of us because we have to deal with that. And if there's no sports, there's nothing for us to do, and we're sitting there betting on Russian ping pong, which is the last thing I want to do. So I hope you guys can vibe with me and you can resonate with what I'm saying, what I'm laying down. I'm hoping you guys can pick it up with ease, and I hope it's not too heavy to pick up because I'm spitting facts on you guys. So at the risk of being too cocky, try to take it and try to resonate it and just do the best you can to stay safe and stay healthy because at the end of the day, we want you with us. So I'll leave it at that, guys. Kind of want to keep this short and sweet. Got a little bit long-winded. It tends to happen with these things. Have a conversation with you guys. We have a little bit back and forth, and it's beautiful. I can just kind of go off on tangents sometimes and start talking, and it's almost like I'm talking to myself, but I know I'm not. So I'll leave it at that, guys. Make sure to check out all of our socials and stay tuned for all the new things regarding GSN and the Gin Promotions team. All the new things dropping on the 1st of January, a lot of stuff dropping, a lot of new changes coming to the page and coming to the organization on the 1st of the year, going into 2022. If you haven't done so already, make your resolutions and stick to them. And I'll leave it at that. Thanks for tuning in, guys. I'm John J. II with the Gin and Tonic series. Have a good one.